here in 150 plus episodes and always providing a great discussion of strategy, education, and scaling your opportunities within real estate. So I'm just going to get myself set up here in a few minutes. And our discussion this morning is BRRRR versus Flip in Q1 2026. So give me just a few minutes to get set up here and we'll get rocking and rolling. Just had another white label course yesterday in the Big Apple. We had 12 students, which was really, it was a nice, smaller than Philadelphia, but man, we packed with content. We didn't get out of there until 3 o'clock. We were at 110 Fifth Avenue in Midtown Manhattan. It was like slightly snowing. It was just adorable. I gotta give a shout out to this bakery down the block, which I provided some bakeries for the people, the attendees in the morning, which was a lot of fun, called Bread and Bakeries. It's on 16th Street. You want to talk about an amazing bakery. I don't eat bread, but if I did, that would be the place where I would binge and eat every piece of bread possible I could put my hands on. It was an amazing place. If anybody ever's going to be in Manhattan and need a place for good bakeries, this was just awesome. Awesome cappuccino. Awesome. The employees were just really nice people. It was a lot of fun. And then we had a great class, and then we grabbed lunch in Midtown. All of us, we just really a great time. And we dug into, if you wanted to broker money, if you wanted to be a better investor, if you wanted to be just a good damn referral partner, we had all the opportunities here for you in this class. Next month, we're in South Jersey, in Collingswood, New Jersey, on the 21st. If anybody's interested, that's going to start posting out today. We're only allowing 30 attendees in this room just because it doesn't allow more than 30 people in this room. And I don't really want to push in more than 30 people in the class. And I can tell you in March, we're going to be in North Jersey, up in Clifton, New Jersey. And then in April, we're going to be up in the Lehigh Valley in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Pretty excited about that schedule. I am working on one in Atlanta. If anybody else would like to have an underwriting class on a Saturday and collaborate and co-sponsor an event, let me know, because obviously we would welcome that opportunity as well. I'll fly in for the day, come to Friday the day before, maybe do a little happy hour, then obviously have the course, as well. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with everything. And I think a lot of people got a lot of questions and concerns addressed. We actually did some live discussions with clients as they were calling in as well, which was really cool. But it went really well, and we got to hang out in New York, and up for a really good schedule this week. We're going to be in Connecticut. We're going to be in Philly. Then we're going to be in Harrisburg. Then I'm going to be in North Jersey. Then I'm going to be in Lehigh Valley. Then I'm going to be up in Edgewater, New Jersey. Then down in Newark, New Jersey. And then I will end up in somewhere in Long Island on Saturday. A very interesting call when I was getting ready for Friday night. I got a call from an old friend of mine. I mean, I've known this young man since I was 16 years old. We work as busboys at a restaurant together. He's done very well for himself. His family did very well for himself. And we just caught up on a Friday night before I went to dinner. I actually invited him because he wasn't too far away from me. I got to see the New York skyline near the Frank Sinatra Park. And I got to see the Frank Sinatra statue. I invited him down to dinner at Del Frisco's, couldn't make it. But, he goes, Joe, I've been following you. And I'm in the commercial real estate space, the marketing space. He's done very well for himself, very wealthy man. His family's good, really great people. His father was just an awesome guy. I bought my first 2 cars off of his father, which was a long time ago. And he's like, Joe, I've been following you. I want to get together with you and talk about real estate. I need to create another extra revenue stream, and I think you would be a great person to bounce some stuff off of. Hey, man, we're having a 12 o'clock lunch this Friday. Those are the best type of calls to have in our space. Just a true evergreen lead that, the guy's been watching me with my videos and my posts, my podcast, and he just felt compelled to reach out to me, and we're friends, so it's not like it was a uncomfortable conversation, but I really look forward to seeing him and just talking about the industry itself and see if there's something that matches up where we can collaborate. And that's what this is all about, and obviously the Creative BRRRR Strategies podcast ties into our discussion today, which is BRRRR versus Flip. But let's get a quick update on the market. Rates have been kind of like weird, man. But I'm seeing everybody coming off the sidelines for DSCR loans. We're seeing rates, as long as credit's above 700, you're probably somewhere about 6.25 to 6.5 right now. If you're below 700, say 660 to 700, you're probably 6.5 to 7%, or even 7.125 if it's on the lower end. DSCR numbers are coming in really good. I'm noticing a lot of W-2 professionals, meaning they're W-2 at a job and they're doing this almost as a secondary thing, coming off the sideline, doing a lot of BRRRRs, doing a lot of refinances. Had one client come in, we did 2 refinances and 2 BRRRRs simultaneously. So 1, they have the liquidity; 2, they have the credit; 3, they're finding the opportunities, identifying the opportunities; and 4, they're not paying an assignment fee, which is really interesting. So the 30-year base is still around 6%, 5.75, somewhere around there. You could buy down to the rate. Doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense if you're going to hold it for the next 30 years and never refinance it. So, the rates are pretty good. I mean, I don't want to say they're bad. They're not great, but they're not horrible. Like, they're really in a good spot. Builder sentiment on the build to rent or new construction space or build to flip has some, it's losing a little ground going into the new year. So we need to keep an eye on that and see how that impacts, inventory, because if there's not enough ownership inventory to buy new construction, it could impact some of the lagging days on the market in real estate holdings across the country. Not every market's impacted, but I'm going to tell you a lot of the market is impacted by days on the market and just stagnant pricing. People are not budging, and people are not going to go after and buy dumb. They're just not going to do it. So just trying to see here if anything kind of any other initial things. The jobless claims are down quite a bit in the last report, which is a good sign. Inflation's down or leveling. Gas prices are obviously coming down. So very interesting, depending on which news channel you watch. I focus on only a couple, so I make sure I get the real information. But it looks like the numbers are there. It's probably upsetting some and making some others very happy. So we'll see how that all levels off into Q1. Rents decline. Interesting article. Favor higher earners as low-income renters face greater pressure. So there's greater pressure in the affordable housing space because a lot of people are renovating their properties to attract more of the higher earners because of the less of the deferred maintenance, lessening of the stress of things to be obligated to the government. So I don't see that out of the ordinary in even some of the small city markets like Philly, St. Louis, Boston, New York, in the boroughs of New York. In the Midwest, you got Indianapolis, St. Louis, Oklahoma. There's in city, they're trying to do more Class B rentals. I know a lot of landlords trying to get away from Section 8 housing. They don't want to get tied into all excuse my French, the bullshit of it all. They just rather just rent to the market rent and just call it a day. I was at a meeting last Tuesday, and the 2 speakers were very big into Section 8. They are not accepting Section 8 anymore. And they have each maybe about 50 to 60 properties apiece. So it's interesting to watch. They're getting away from the affordable housing because it's just too much red tape. I'm a fan of affordable housing, but not every landlord has that wherewithal. So let's talk about some top cities that tie into not just flippers but first-time home buyers, as well as I would say a good BRRRR strategy. I think all these markets match up for the most part. Hang on one second here. Number one is Peoria, Illinois. Number two is Fort Wayne, Indiana. Number three is Pittsburgh. It's always in the top 10. Number four is South Bend, Indiana. Number five, Davenport, Iowa. Number six, Rockford, Illinois. Number seven, Wichita, Kansas. Number eight, Toledo, Ohio. Number nine, Lansing, Michigan. And number 10, Wichita Falls, Texas. These are all based on medium home price, medium monthly housing costs, and housing costs as a percentage of income. So that's an interesting list of properties. You probably never thought of some of these markets, but a lot of out-of-state landlords are trying to identify better markets to get into. One last article, and then we'll get into the subject matter at hand. U.S. housing demand softens amid rising inventories. I mean, the inventory active listings have increased 12.1% going into the first month. That's pretty That's pretty crazy if you think about it. It'll be interesting to watch post Super Bowl, which is technically our spring market, how the market reacts. I think we're not going to see a hard reaction till April, till there's an announcement who the new Fed chair is. And now with the DOJ digging into the Fed, of a very interesting build out they've done. I don't know if anybody knows about the Fed's new office, fountains and all kinds of unbelievable things in this building. And we'll never get to see any of it. Only the upper echelon get to go walking through this building. So I don't know why they had to go all out for a overpaying building new construction, but that's going to kind of, I think, stall a little the nomination of the new Fed chair, but we'll see how this all shakes out. But yeah, inventory is not looking good right now. In a way, I'll tell you, in the Northeast, it's up 7.5%. Midwest, 11.1%. In the South, 12.3%, and in the West, 14.4%. So very interesting there. So let's get into our discussion: BRRRR versus flip in Q1 2026. General housing market conditions, obviously, when we're in 26, 26 is expected to be a rebound year with more homes sold and modest price appreciation, about 2 to 4% nationally, suggesting a healthier deal flow. Mortgage rates aren't projected to crater, but forecasts point to gradual easing, helping both flips, exit, and BRRRR, meaning the refinance. Some investor sentiment. Some experienced investors are shifting from flips toward BRRRR for stability and long-term holding benefits. I've been seeing this for the last 6 months, actually. Fix and flip projections for 2026 are cautiously optimistic with stabilization and opportunity in select markets, but margins remain compressed. I've been talking about this as well. I think people are walking away with a lot less money when they flip these properties and they realize they're not making as much as they were making the last couple of years. My flippers are turning into rehabbers and holders. Fix and flip, some strengths. Faster turnaround profit is realized when the home sells. If priced and executed correctly, capital can recycle quickly. The rate environment benefits. The normalization helps comps. We need more comps, of course. As we go toward AI comps and artificial intelligence comps instead of a personal comp, we're going to see some interesting circumstances because if the comps are not there, the value is what it is. Some weaknesses in the fix and flip: holding costs matter, market timing sensitivity, and margins compressed. Now, on the BRRRR side, some of the strengths, it's recycling capital. You're taking your money out, you're balancing out the books, and then you're holding it for cash on cash return. Lower reliance on market timing, growing preference amongst the pros, easier exit via refinance, and some of the weaknesses. There's always good with the bad. Equity and cash flow constraints. Maybe you don't get everything out on the refinance because maybe the comp doesn't come back. Appraisal and DSCR hurdles. I'm seeing DSCR compressing because of days on the market on a property being up for rent to get ready. Because if it's up for rent for 3 months and it's not rented, you're not debt servicing. So you're losing money technically if you do the refinance based on market rent and it's not released at the time. Longer time horizon. BRRRR isn't designed for quick profit. It's a portfolio building strategy that pays off over years. Best for investors seeking scalable long-term wealth, stable rental income, and capital recycling rather than one-time flip gains. So that's real quick, and then we'll get to our moderators, of course. Fix and flip, short months. BRRRR, longer, 9 plus 18 months per cycle. The risk exposure on a fix and flip is a little higher, timing and resale. If you miss your market and your timing of the market, you could be off. The BRRRR strategy is very moderate risk exposure. The cash flow, one-time profit on the flip. On the BRRRR, it's more of a recurring rental income. The capital recycling between fix and flip and BRRRR, limited on the fix and flip, strong via refinance on the BRRRR. Market sensitivity is high on the fix and flip. On the BRRRR, it's a lower market sensitivity. Fix and flip versus BRRRR on the best market fit, rising demand on and low carrying costs on the fix to flip. On the BRRRR, stable rental markets and predictable rents. Bottom line, fix and flip remains viable if you can. Buy deeply discounted deals, control rehab and holding costs, navigate local demand dynamics. However, flips are still sensitive to timing and margin compression in 26. BRRRR is comparatively more resilient and modestly appreciating market with better deal flow, allowing investors to build long-term portfolios and recycle capital, even if short-term profit spreads tighten. So that's my overview to BRRRR versus flip in 26. I will post an article again on this. I know it is in my newsletter on LinkedIn and posted out everywhere else. But we'll get to our moderators now. Good morning, Brian. Thank you for your patience. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to BRRRR versus flip in Q1 2026.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, my name's Brian Guth. I am do fix and flips, fix and holds, Airbnbs. I'm in the upstate New York region out in Rochester. And this topic I could talk for days on. It's really, I don't know. I think the element there that you add as far as, okay, focusing on the Q1 2026, obviously you got to pay attention to your market. How soft is the market right now? Is it extra soft because of the winter months? Is it soft because it's been on a softening trend? Those types of things. But it's really, the pieces I look at before I even go into it, obviously, as I'm looking at a deal, some of the key elements I'm looking at property taxes, because if the property taxes are very high and I hold that as a BRRRR, obviously that chews into my monthly income. So I'm very aware of what the property taxes are. And if it's in a high property tax area, I automatically gravitate towards a flip as opposed to a BRRRR. And you mentioned with, just being aware of the comps, and the comps matter, for my opinion. The comps matter whether you're doing it as a BRRRR or a flip, because when I say that is the comp matters when you're trying to sell as a flip, because obviously that's your comp. But the appraisers, if you're doing a BRRRR, the appraisers are looking at comps for the appraisal piece also. So I definitely pay very close attention to that. Also paying attention to rent comps. Are rents going up, going down, holding stable? In my markets, it's fairly common and relatively easy, I would say, for me to get to a rental ratio where I can be at, the rents, the 1.5% rule pretty easily, sometimes the 2% rule. So for me, BRRRRs are very much on the table, but it still comes down to the old adage, you make money when you buy. And that matters whether it's, for a sell, because obviously, to get the money back. But like you said, in a BRRRR, you may have to leave money in the deal. So it turns into, how much money am I comfortable leaving in the deal? Obviously, again, dictated by what I bought it for, rehab, et cetera. I will say there's a property right now. Well, I'll back up a step. So usually I always have my game plan going into a property if I'm planning to BRRRR or flip. The BRRRR would always be the fallback plan. If I'm planning to flip something, it doesn't go as expected. I'm working on a property right now where I was admittedly kind of on the fence. So I approached the rehab as kind of a nicer rental rehab, when in the back of my mind, I'm going to do it as a BRRRR. But once the rehab's done, I'll throw it in the market and see what happens. If it fetches a nice number on the market, I have no problem selling it. If not, I have no problem keeping it as a rental. And I know I didn't over rehab it for a rental perspective. So those kind of things I pay attention to. And obviously, just knowing your market, in the market I'm in, there's a lot of zip codes in a relatively small area. So it's knowing kind of what zip codes are hot, what zip codes aren't, and even in my area, knowing the geography as far as, okay, maybe the northern part of this zip code is doing X, Y, Z, while the southern part is declining. So just kind of being aware of all those elements. With that, I'll pass it back.
Yeah, Brian, I don't disagree with you. I think the market price growth is softening and not collapsing. And I feel there's fewer available comps and lower transaction volume that kind of tie into the regional variation, like depending on where you're at, right? So in your area, obviously, there's only so many comps to grab onto, right? And I think the key is, and the art of the game is obviously to identify the right appraiser that understands the market immediately in that area. Am I correct in what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And we battle with that every day, you and I, right? So we try to make sure we get that right person in front of somebody like yourself, because the comp really matters. You get one shot at the belt in those circumstances, right? So it's very challenging, but thankfully I've been able to get the right appraisers to show up to the right houses. Does that make sense, Brian?
Oh yeah, and that's a great point. Of as far as you've done enough, kind of working with your lender to say, hey, listen, I want this appraiser. They weren't. I don't think they were fair, so let's get them off of the rotation.
Yeah.
Kind of put notes in there if you can work with the lender to say, let's get them out of the rotation because I don't want to have to work with them again. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been doing that more, being more specific in my intentions with that. It's extremely important. And we're not doing anything. We're not talking about anything illegal here. We're just saying, hey, listen. You don't need somebody coming in to do an appraisal 100 miles away. You need somebody that's from the market, understands the market, understands what the borrower is trying to accomplish here, right? You're not trying to, go to jail for a $150,000 house, $200,000 house. You're trying to make sure, one, you're doing a fair personal appraisal on the property, and two, you're just trying to get your money out. That's what you're trying to accomplish, right? You're not trying to leave the money in, if that makes any sense. So, Brian, thank you very much for your thoughts on that, because obviously you and I are live and kicking in this discussion almost on a day-to-day basis. And I have this discussion with many clients like Brian right now. And I think people appreciate that, because I feel like they know that there's just more of a personal touch to the process of the refinance or the purchase. I'll give you a great example, and then we'll move on to Dave, of course. I had an appraisal come back $200,000 short. It was a purchase for $815. The property came back at like $650, some crazy number difference. I'm like, listen, there's no comps. Even the best of appraisers can't find a comp here. It doesn't work. You're overpaying for the property. But can't we look at the income approach and say it's a 4-unit? You can to a point. You still need a market comp. Irony enough, the client that was selling the property calls me, and I'm now refinancing that property, another one, and doing 2 BRRRRs for her. So as long as you're transparent and honest with people, you're not going to be real happy with the initial directness to something, but I think people will appreciate you getting back the real answers right away. It'll sting a little bit, good, bad, and indifferent, but always come back with news. Dave, good morning and welcome. Brief overview, who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning, BRRRR versus Flip in Q1 26.
Good morning, y'all. Good morning, Joe. Thank you guys for having me. Greatly appreciate it. Dave BRRRR, owner and founder of Trifecta Credit Solutions, where we take businesses, people, investors, and help them go from credit to capital. Talking about a little bit of what Joe's talking about, kind of just to take sense of BRRRR versus Flip. I think overall, I don't know how many new people are on here at all, and it takes us back to what Joe, you and I were talking about on Wednesday. I think I have 2 talking points today. I think just overall, don't get caught up into this or that, right? Like, take action. We were talking about that based on our room that's coming into the Lehigh Valley room on Wednesday. It's, guys, just take action, right? But again, keep that planned out. What do you want to do? Like, we have a lot of guys in our room that I think they all want to do flips, right? They don't want to hold. They don't want to be in the landlord side of things. They don't want to get into that mess. But I think what you said, Joe, is pretty key. Is hey, you're leaving some money on the table by not taking that rent side, and some of those numbers might not be there. But real quick, and I just want to keep this short and brief today. One thing I want to kind of talk, it's on topic, but off topic a little bit. Guys, if you do have any consumer debt, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're making moves to do that repeat at the end of BRRRR, right, make sure you get your credit right. If you're getting capital in today, I'm telling you, it's going to start tightening up a little bit. And the main reason is this talk of 10% on credit card interest. I think it's a bad thing. I think it's going to create closing accounts. Therefore, if your accounts are closed, your score is going to drop. It's going to make money harder to borrow. Joe, I don't know what that looks like on the private side, but money's going to get tighter, guys. And if you have the ability to roll that debt over now into some type of term loan, debt consolidation loan, take care of it today. Don't wait, because more than likely, it's probably not going to happen. I don't see how you can force a private entity to change their rates. But guys, if it can happen, it will. So get your money situation in order. The last thing you want to do is slow yourself down for borrowing power and take any risk on that. And I'm gonna leave it at there. Joe, back to you. Thank you, guys.
You know, I think the issue, Dave, and I think you might agree with me on this, is it's good. The liquidity issue to doing a loan is going to still be there. And I think the issue is that liquidity is not there for some of these investors trying to get in, and getting available credit is going to be tightened. So then the liquidity issue is going to be tightened. I mean, it's all about liquidity. Like listen, Dave, you and I have this event every third Wednesday of the month in Lehigh Valley. And people are coming up with imaginary type of ways of getting into a deal. At the end of the day, you need money to put down on a property. Okay, I would love to tell you that there's loans out there for second position loans, but they don't really exist. Because why would a first position mortgage holder allow a second position mortgage holder put a second position in, and you have no money into the deal? That means you have no skin in the game. I'm wasting my time with you. Let's just call it what it is, right? So, like, I'm looking at my credit report right now. I have a 3% usage on my entire credit. So I could turn around today and immediately go get $50,000 if I need it in liquidity. Am I correct, Dave? I'm looking at my credit report right now.
Yeah, 100%. That's the play. You know, liquidate something at 0% for 50K. You know, you can run that play all day. I think the bigger thing too is what people miss is leveraging, taking that 803 score and utilizing that on your LLC. Mm-hmm. And that's the step that a lot of people miss, because if you do that on the personal side, yeah, 50 grand, that 3% might turn into 70. That 803 is probably going to turn into 630, 640 temporarily. Obviously, you should pay it back, but you know, you still need that 803 in order to leverage on the business credit side. Yeah. And, you know, but yeah, you're 100% right, man. You have access to that all day.
The key is getting your usage, your credit usage, below 10 to 15%, where credit facilitators have a user appetite to working with you. Okay. And that's what I've done over the last several years to keep my liquidity out there at the top. Dave and I co-host an event in Lehigh Valley. It's really coming around and taking shape. We are excited about going into the first quarter together. We did a great holiday party. The next night, I was in Newark, New Jersey with Van Robinson, who's on here once in a while, and collaborating with Jumpstart Newark, and we had over 40 people there. And that event, we moved it around a couple nights, and we're going to stick with the third Thursday of the month, and I think we hit a home run. I have a feeling we're going to fill the whole restaurant on the next couple of runs. So if you're in that Newark, New Jersey area, or you want to go to a really great event on a third Thursday and fly into Newark Airport and come over and Uber over and then go back home, I was extremely impressed with Jumpstart Newark and the discussions we had. We're having events now in Philadelphia, North Jersey, and Lehigh Valley. We're going to stay strong with those. And then I obviously attend a ton of other events as well throughout the month. And again, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Brian, so far on this discussion, BRRRR versus Flip in Q1 2026. And we're going to go to some of the roses amongst the thorns here. Melissa, good morning and welcome. brief overview who you are, what you do, and BRRRR versus Flip in Q1 2026.
Hey, good morning, Joe. How are you doing today? How's Clubhouse doing? We should be doing okay. We all woke up this morning and we made it to Joe's room, right? Hey, everybody. My name is Melissa King. I am a real estate investor with my husband of 30 years. We have been investing with our self-directed IRAs in some fix and flips and different kinds of business loans. And I am also the owner of a virtual assistant business run out of the lovely Michigan. We're under a what is it here? Some kind of snow warning right now till Tuesday at 7 a.m. So we're going to go out this afternoon and do some snowshoeing because, you know, you work hard, you got to play hard. What I do with my business is I currently work with investors and small businesses. We keep their numbers and paperwork organized so that they can support lending, refis, and clean exits. We are just here basically to learn about the BRRRR versus the flip. We've already got some great information already. One of our goals this quarter is to do debt consolidation days. We realize that that's going to help us leverage and get more into our lane, which we are trying to figure out. I really like the BRRRR for the long-term play, Joe. That seems to be my favorite right now. And I also found it interesting that Lansing, Michigan picture list. That is my...
Where is that?
That's like, we like to affectionately call it the armpit of... Michigan. That's only because we're from there and you know how that goes. It is basically just south central at the bottom of Michigan, like in between Grand Rapids and Detroit.
Got it. That's funny. I thought, whenever Michigan comes up and you're on here, I kind of giggle because you're probably saying, what is it? What, how the hell did we make that list?
I do.
But hey, listen, I'm pulling data.
Yeah. Last week, and if you just, that's one of the reasons I like Clubhouse, is because you get a different perspective, East Coast, West Coast, nationally. That's my favorite part about Clubhouse, because if you go to the locals, sometimes the meeting, they're not as positive as you'd like, I guess is the way to say it. Is that politically correct?
Mm-hmm. I'm not politically correct, though. That's correct. That's okay.
The straight shooter. And here in West Michigan, I'm kind of that way, and I think it brushes some people a little bit the wrong way, but that's okay. That's who we are. We have to be authentic, right?
I've been focusing on brushing people the wrong way for 56 years, Melissa.
Just need to own it.
You got to take it in, eat the frog, and just, that's it. You got to just take it in. So.
Okay. All right. 2026, I'm going to eat that frog.
Absolutely. Thank you, Melissa. And I'm going to tie in real quick before we go to Deborah, some top BRRRR markets that you want to keep in mind. I like these markets, except one, I think. One is a little questionable. Maybe two. Cleveland, Ohio, again, very good market for cash flow, but you need a team there. Very problematic with property management team and your team of experts. You got to keep an eye on that market there. Indianapolis, Indiana, I like it. It's a boring city, but I like it. It's a good city for landlording. Memphis, Tennessee came up, but man, that is a tough place to look at right now. So you got to have a strong skin on that one and handle that one. Birmingham, Alabama looks good. Kansas, Missouri looks good. Pittsburgh, PA looks good. Columbus, Ohio looks good. Detroit's there. I mean, you need a good, strong team. Phoenix, Arizona's there. Tampa, Florida's there. Atlanta, Georgia. Dallas, Texas. Charlotte, North Carolina. But you know what's really surprising? None of the markets that are coming up on my top 15 on BRRRR is in South Carolina. I like South Carolina a lot. And maybe they purposely want nobody to talk about it, but there's certain markets there that you really need to dig into. And everything other than Memphis and Nashville, because I feel like Nashville's saturated, and I think Memphis is kind of tough right now. But I think there's some other markets there: Knoxville, Chattanooga, Clarksville. Really good smaller markets, but I think there's some meat on the bone there if you get in that Tennessee market there. Some thoughts. And listen, the markets where and we're going to go to Deborah, I like Vegas, but I think it's a rental market and you got to be very cautious where you're buying. So, Deborah, good morning. Welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do. Thoughts to BRRRR versus Flip in quarter 126, especially Viva Las Vegas.
Good morning, Joe. Great to be on in your show. So yes, I'm a realtor in Las Vegas. Been a realtor here for 20 years. I agree with you, Joe. There's certain spots in Vegas where you don't want to rent because of the property values, of course, and because of the crime and because of the location. I do think that you can do both here, BRRRR and Flip. Especially if you get it at a very good price, which is very hard to, in today's market, especially, since I'm a realtor and, we want our clients to get the most for their money, but there are properties that are distressed all the time. So it's not impossible. And sorry, Joe, I'm getting over having that flu, cold, whatever it is. So I'm sorry for my voice. What else? I sent you those things about what Trump is trying to do and get the hedge funds out of buying properties. And I, as a realtor, I agree with that. I don't think companies should buy, house single family when a family could buy them.
Yeah.
I think if they don't, yeah, fine, then buy them. But anyway, so I'll turn it back to you, Joe.
Well, my personal thought on that article, I think people are still reading it all incorrectly. The hedge funds are not buying the real estate. They're providing the financing for the real estate, meaning like I work for a hedge fund that is putting money on the street for the investor, the small investor actually, that 1 through 4 or 5 plus units, so let's say like a 20 unit multifamily to buy, to leverage. So I just don't know where this onslaught of the hedge funds are buying real estate right now. They're putting the money out to buy the real estate, which is different. So I don't know, all these articles, they come out with different things. I know what's happening here. I know that hedge funds are putting money through capital groups such as myself. The company that I work for is owned by a hedge fund. And they're putting money out and they want to put a lot of money out. There's no mention they want to own the properties. None. They just want to finance them. That's it. And make their margin on financing. So it's interesting what you read and what you see almost on a daily basis that are like in two different directions, Deborah. You know what I mean? And we know this, right? I'm telling you for a fact, I go to meetings where the hedge funds are talking about they want to put more money out for other people to buy. They don't mention, hey, we're putting money out to buy the properties up against you. And when I read that article, I looked at it, I'm like, somebody's not understanding the non-QM space because that's where all the hedge fund money is at. So it'll be interesting to watch as this progresses in the space, but I don't see hedge funds slowing down, putting more money on the street on behalf of companies such as the one I represent to buy more properties through the small investors. If the small investors stay liquid, keep their credit good, and the inventory stays kind of in a consistent manner where they're at, I think we're going to be in a very good space, whether for BRRRR or Flip. I mean, it's all the time. Flipping is timing. BRRRR is about the cash on cash return, the cash flow, and the comp. Okay? And managing it out on the back end. You need great property management on the back end to be a successful scaling real estate investor in the BRRRR space. That is a fact. Stephen, good morning and welcome. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to our discussion this morning. BRRRR versus Flip in quarter 1, 2026. Stephen?
Hey, Joe.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be an interesting year, especially in the flip space. I mean, there are certainly markets where it still works. We still do okay up here. I'm the REI homepage. I do a little bit of teaching. I'm doing a lot of buy and holding because that's always been the model that works best for me. Flips have always been kind of for me personally. It's just not something I like to do. It's not something I really crewed up to do. But so I think a lot of it all obviously comes down to, do you have the interest in the team and whatever to do a flip? or as my friend Mike Bazzanone is doing some actual ground up, putting modulars and whatever. So, if that's your lane, great. But I'm finding around here that things are a lot, even in a market that's still very, very affordable for most people. Sub 200, certainly sub 300 for a finished dipped in gold home. But I'm seeing, my realtor friends who sell a lot of that are telling me that it's quieter. It's getting quieter. Things are getting on the market longer. I'm even seeing it with some of the wholesalers that I work with. We've been lucky. Our wholesale side is still moving pretty good, but I'm seeing a lot of repricing on the wholesale side as well. So I think the flips are about timing and are about careful, and in my opinion, right now, underbuying. Buy it below where you think you needed it a year ago. For me, I've always been more of a buy and holder, but I'm definitely back there looking for self-storage, looking for more buy and hold stuff. Also because I own the management company, but also because that to me is a more consistent category. And also as I had a conversation with a financial advisor friend of mine, he's like, if you're in the affordable rental space, there's always going to be somebody that needs to affordably rent your property. If you're in the flip space, and you take 3-6 months to get it done, will there be somebody at the end of the rainbow? And my last, position, which I've always said is, if you can rent it, if you're doing a flip and you can rent it for enough to stay alive, then that's a no-brainer because you always have the fallback plan. If you're flipping something which can't rent for enough to pay for itself, be real careful. That's really my thing. So I'm getting more cautious on the flip space. Also, in a lot of markets, a friend of mine does a lot in Pittsburgh, and it is a great market. The contractors are still extremely busy, so it's not always easy to pick up the guy you need. So if you don't have the core team going in, once you close on it, it may be too late to start looking for that core crew, because they might be booked out 3 or 4 months.
So, Stephen, where do you see AI taking shape within a small market like yourself, where you are, and tying in identifying opportunities? Have you applied any form of AI to identify, this SFR space or the self-storage space? Are you using any of that to kind of leverage yourself as a real estate broker?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm using it almost every day. The self-storage community that I joined, and then I've been working with for several years. It's sort of a mentorship, we've been in it longer than that. We're now on the other side of it. But basically, they've got a great AI built out, actually 4 different AIs. One's identifying markets, one's, doing basic analysis, one's an LOI writer. And we still run it. I mean, as they say, don't let the AI do all your work for you. Do the long division too. But the AI has saved us there, and I'm actually cloning their AI in the in the more residential multifamily space, to sort of run the basic math, upload the OM, give it the stuff, and give it your parameters. Like for me, it's the entire capital stack has to debt service at 1.25, not just the debt. And let it come back in 5, 10, 15 minutes with a pretty well thought out package. And I will say that one of my challenges with AI is it'll come out with a half-baked package, and I will tell it to tweak this one portion, and it gets worse. And I was just taught that you don't have it tweak one portion. You give it the criticism and have it rebuild the whole thing, and that seems to keep it more on track. But, I use it a lot there. I use it consistently when writing difficult letters in my normal business. And I'm into sustainability, so I actually use Ecosia AI, which is a green, renewably sourced, but that only works for letters. It doesn't have the capability. You've still got to be on ChatGPT or Grok or one of those for deeper work. But I use it a lot for that. I don't find it can, at least in the storage space, I haven't really tried it on the residential space. I don't find it that it can publicly source values as well. It'll do city data and community data and stuff like that really well. But I find when I'm looking at, what's the, square feet supply per person, I have to go to a store track or a tract IQ, dump that in and say, here it is. It's probably because certain publicly available sources are login capable. They're not looking to have an API or ChatGPT work with them. A lot of the raw data you want, my experience is I want to put it in. it comes up with sort of pieces. But once it's in, I find that I use it all the time to analyze and keep track of, and also think through a strategy.
Yeah.
So I'm using it a lot. I'm actually trying to build more on it because I'm finding it a really useful tool. That's kind of how I use it.
Yeah, I actually have a funnel where I funnel both Grok, Gemini, and ChatGPT accelerated to come up with my analysis or work when I'm putting together, whether it's an article, a newsletter, whether it's data that I'm trying to drive toward me on my underwrite. Because somebody will give me an address, and I have to do some additional research before I issue terms.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks, hey, I just drew you a stick figure. Can you give me terms? No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they draw this little stick figure and say, oh yeah, you should be able to give me terms on this and lock it down. I'm like, no, you're trying to throw shit up on the wall and it doesn't stick right now.
And what I actually am starting to build is, because I'm trying to do the digital clone and sort of stuff like that. And what I've discovered is that it's not just one tool. Like Chat does a great job for these kind of things, and Grok does this, and Claude does that, and the other ones, and you end up a lot of times on a single project. Like for the self-storage analysis, Chat does a pretty good job. I don't need anything else. But if you're doing something else, a lot of times it is, well, Claude's good at this, and Grok's good at that, and so a lot of times it is mixing and matching it. In fact, one thing I'm trying to build, and Chat says it can do it, is that a tool like Chat will say, oh, you give this portion to Claude, that portion, and it'll actually give it to Claude or whatever. So AI almost runs the AI. Like I think Amy said a few weeks ago, in one of the apps she uses, she actually has an AI that monitors all the other AIs.
Yeah, I funnel it now. Yeah, it allows me to just be quicker on my feet with client inquiry. So, but I appreciate that, Steve. Any plans for an event coming up in the Northeast Pennsylvania market?
I actually was calling you this week and set that up because I do think I want to get back to doing them, probably up in that Dixon City range on a regular basis. I actually have a new agent up there who wants to collaborate on them and kind of help keep them running. So yeah, I think I do want to bring them back up because eventually if I don't, somebody else will, and there's enough need for one up there.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a buzz this week.
Sounds good. I got your email as well, so I will follow up with you on that post podcast. So thank you, Steve.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So listen, as we're growing here in the BRRRR versus flip environment, quarter one is just one piece of the pie. We got 3 more quarters to follow, and as real estate professionals, we need to keep our eye on the ball. I mean, how many? I ask people all the time, how many events have you gone to this past week to network and find out what's going on in the market? If you're not out there twice a week at one given event or another, I really don't know how you're applying your marketing for, one, your business, 2, for your inner knowledge of the market and keeping your ear to the ground. You have to get more involved. I know it's tough getting your ass after work and going where you have to go or doing what you're doing. You got to get to a couple places. You got to identify events. Like I'm going to be in Austin, Texas, the first week in February. I've already identified 2 events while I'm there that I'm going to go to. I'm going to make my time worth it. I got to be there for the week for training. And why wouldn't I network at 6:30 in the evening to 8:30 somewhere else if I have nothing else to do other than sitting in my hotel? I'm going to go and get my Uber my ass over to one of those events. What's the worst thing that happens? I meet one person that impacts my day or my quarter, my week, my year. At the end of the day, your network is your net worth when it comes to BRRRR versus flip. Everybody's looking for off-market deals. Your off-market deals are at these events. You're missing out. I'm telling you that for a fact. Good morning, Felix. Welcome. Thank you for your patience. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to BRRRR versus flip, quarter 1, 2026. Felix going once. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Grand Rising, kid. Grand Rising.
The Joe, Felix Buchanan Sr., Buchanan Biz Enterprises, the Jalix Group. Very good topic, especially with everything that's going on in Baltimore. with, not being able to get loans. So our flip market is kind of like real stagnant, mainly because of the fact that, with the fraud going on in Baltimore and in Philly. So to me, it's always, you always got to pivot. So in my market, it's more rental buy and holds that investors are looking for now, more so than flips. Obviously, because there's no guarantee that with the flip is there going to be a buyer available to qualify for a loan so that they can then purchase that house. Then there's a lot of inventory in the Maryland, upper East Coast market where properties are sitting on the market longer. So to be in a flip strategy right now wouldn't be the best or more ideal situation for quarter one in my sector up there. It's a little different in as you said, the North Carolina, South Carolina, the Texas area. But right now up north, it's more the BRRRR strategy. I am finding that in Texas, there are a lot of more owners that are buying properties and renting them out, whether it's short-term rentals or long-term rentals, traveling nurses, Airbnbs. I'm working with more investors in the Houston area that are wanting to get their Airbnbs going and, be able to receive that residual income over a course of years. In Maryland, even before this situation happened, with the fraud situation, there are a lot more investors buying multi-unit properties because, again, it's maximizing how much money you can get in the residual income on a monthly basis. As everybody mentioned before, everything is within you buying the property. If you don't buy the property at the right price, I don't care whether it's a rental or a flip, then you're going to lose in some way. Will you be able to recover? Yeah, it just depends on what the time frame is that you are going to recover. If you are doing flips, just like Steven mentioned, don't put yourself in a position that you X yourself out in the sense that you buy the property too much and then the rental is not going to cover it. And or you got to rent it just so that you can make the payment and then you're not making anything. So you're just basically practicing real estate. Don't want to do that. Realistically, it's just making sure that you know your numbers, things that we've talked about consistently, making sure that you have a strong team, making sure that you have people that are credible in the sense that when you're asking them for advice, whether you're using AI, having the proper mentors, looking at what the market's doing, making sure that you're paying attention to the right people and not the smoke and screens. A lot of people will want to make it look like they're making something and doing something until you get to really knowing the numbers, and then you be like, oh, you didn't have anything. Similar to like sellers that used to sell their property when you couldn't see exactly what it sold for. So you ask your neighbor like, oh, how much you sell your house for? And they be like, oh, I sold it for $250,000, when they really only sold it for $210,000. And, if you go off of that without having the actual numbers, then you're going to put yourself in a real bad bind because now you went off of what someone said instead of making sure that you checked and validated your information. So that's my knowledge and wisdom for today. Pass it back to you, Joe.
Yep. Felix, thank you as always. Listen, guys, Baltimore and Philadelphia right now, I have to say, are on the bad boys list. They're not really looked at from a good lending perspective on the SFR due to a lot of fraud cases that are hitting the ground right now in Baltimore and Philadelphia. Every deal is going to be scrutinized or cut back on LTC, meaning loan to cost or loan to value, on the after repair value in those two markets right now. St. Louis, Chicago as well. Just because, as this market gets a little tighter and economics get a little wacky, those are the markets that usually come to the top of fraud and poor aligning. So just keep it like Philly looks good, but I like the surrounding areas of Philly. Baltimore looks good because of the numbers, but the lending piece, if you don't have any experience or you don't have a presence there, it's going to be a tough ride there between Philly and Baltimore for about a year or so. The surrounding areas of Baltimore, it depends on where you're at. I mean, I've been at the Eastern Shore area, like the Delmarva area. It's kind of quiet. I don't really think it's an investor-driven area. DMV corridor, kind of a little different. You got to kind of find your spot where it makes sense to hold there. There's still some flipping, but it's a quiet market right now. in that area. I see more activity in my South Jersey corridor, even though foreclosures are up in Cumberland and Atlantic County right now. But the barrier of entry to get in to either flip something, make a couple bucks, or burst something is there. If I was looking more in a 50-mile radius of where I'm sitting right now. But again, from a lending perspective, the surrounding areas of Baltimore and Philly are fine. The inner cities of Philadelphia and Baltimore right now are extremely tough, and keep that in consideration if you plan on investing into those markets at this time, or you want to just reach out to guys like myself and Felix. I've known Felix close to 20 years now, so I think I could trust him with his advisory when it comes to that market. I feel like he's a specialist in that area. Van Robinson, good morning and welcome. We had a wonderful event last week on Thursday night. Pictures prove in the pudding there. Brief overview who you are, what you do, and thoughts to BRRRR versus Flip in quarter 126, and thoughts to the event this past Thursday night.
Yeah, man. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Joe. My name is Van Robinson, and I am the executive director of Jumpstart Newark, which is a community development organization that teaches just ordinary folk how to become real estate investors and create generational wealth for themselves and simultaneously improve the community by reducing blight. Joe, first the event. The event was nice, man. I really thought that a lot of people came out, and it was informative, and and I look forward to the next event. So thank you very much for coming out and sponsoring the event. It was wonderful. This article, I chimed in late, so I don't kind of know where you guys are totally at with this article. I heard that. I didn't read the article. But in terms of BRRRR versus Flip, locally, I think real estate is local. My perception is, and my opinion is that I don't think that it's a BRRRR versus Flip environment here, right? I think that I look at it as just like the stock market, right? That you're either buying in you're buying in the S&P or the NASDAQ, right? I mean, it's something personal. The flipping, our jump starters, they're doing both. Some are renovating properties and selling properties and just renting them and trying to scale. And others are actually building on their way to building new construction. I think I always say that real estate is math, right? And what I do is determined basically by that, right? I could purchase a property and think that I might want to flip the property, but maybe I didn't put a lot of cash into it. Maybe it's close to a college. Maybe there are just some things that make it more attractive for me because of my overall portfolio, where I want to go at a certain time in my life. It may make sense, right? So I think that it's a combination of the market, and it's a combination of where I want to go. Scaling, I hear a lot about scaling, especially from the jump starters, right? I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. I mean, scaling is fine, right? And you want to grow, but you want to grow right, So, that's enough for me, Joe. Thanks again.
Man, thank you as always. I don't think we're going to be able to slow down now that we got such momentum moving into the third Thursday. We had over 35 people there. I mean, we had half the restaurant filled up, I think. So I think we're really going in the right direction. I think the word's going to get out. And I'm really excited about the collaboration with you, Savannah. Thank you. So my final thoughts to BRRRR versus Flip Q1 26. I feel like BRRRR has the edge for many investors in early 26 because it's more portfolio resilient in a cautious market, leveraging refinance mechanics and building recurring cash flow, especially in a balanced or slow growth conditions. Flipping still works, but success will require disciplined pricing, tight rehab timelines, and sharp cost control due to compressed margins. Hybrid approach. Many seasoned investors blend both, using flips to generate quick capital while building long-term holds through BRRRR. Some key tactical tips for Q1 26. Engineer BRRRR deals from refinance outcomes backward before buying. Prioritizing markets with strong rent fundamentals, job growth, limited supply. And in flip deals, build extra margin buffers for slower comps or holding costs. And my quote this morning, champions don't compete on balance. They compete on relentless energy, no off switch, no excuses. Obsession makes success inevitable. I want to thank our moderators that gave a lot this morning on this great discussion. We're in our second year of the Creative BRRRR Strategies podcast and house here on Clubhouse. I want to thank Mr. Yardell Perkins of Perkatech, who provides all the social media architecture and background to this website design. You definitely need to reach out to him, as well as your moderators here. They gave their heart to these discussions this morning. I think it's definitely worth having a one-on-one with every one of these individuals, because I think they all bring something to the pie of a team of experts, I would say, in what you're trying to accomplish in real estate. Anyone that's listening below or anybody that's following up and listening is on a replay. We're here every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, providing education, networking, and strategy. I want to thank everyone again. Have a great week. And we're going to be ending the room in the next 30 seconds. And thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Joe.